But it's a very disappointing result for us as a team because we expect to win a game like that. We managed to score 2 goals in the beginning, and the game was going our direction. But and I think we consider silly goals, same as we did before while I'm playing. So I'm not nobody can take it. I'm taking my teammates or something because I'm in the bench. But we consider same silly goals as we did before. So we have to just try to keep the clean sheet and win games.
When did you say you couldn't believe it? What couldn't you believe?
I'm sitting in the bench for 90 minutes. I think that's the third time I'm in the bench. I think it's my first time in my career, but I'm very disappointed. I'm very, very disappointed, to be fair. I have done so much for this club. Everybody can see that during the years, and especially last season. Sitting in the bench, I don't know why. Seems like a club is throwing me under the bus. That's how I feel it. I think it's very clear that someone wants me to get all the blame. The club promised me in the summer for a lot of promises and nothing. So far, I'm in the bench 3 games, so I can't say that they keep the promise. And I said that many times before. I had a good relationship with the manager, and out of the sudden, we don't have any relationship. I don't know why. It seems to me, how I see it, it's someone doesn't want me in the club. But again, this club, I always support it. My kids will always support it. I love the club so much, and I will always do. Now I called my mom yesterday because I knew you guys didn't know that I'm gonna start or not, but I knew. I called my mom and that yesterday I told them come to Brighton game. It doesn't matter if I play or not. I'm gonna enjoy it. We'll see what's gonna happen, but in my head, I'm going to enjoy that game if I played or not, if I'm in the bench or not, because I don't know what's gonna happen now. So I'm just gonna be in Anfield, say goodbye to the fans, going to Africa Cup, because I don't know what's gonna happen when I'm there. So,
what do you do with the situation now, Mohamed?
It's not acceptable for me, to be fair. Like, I don't know why that happened always to me. Like, I don't get it. I think if I'm somewhere else, every club will protect his player. I don't know why I'm in this situation now. But again, it's how I see it now is like it's like you throw Mo under the bus because he's a problem in the team now. But I don't think I'm the problem. I have done so much for this club to get the respect I want to get, and I don't have to go every day fighting for my position because I earn it. People will say, "Oh, you're not bigger than." I'm not bigger than anyone. I earn my position. This is football. Yeah. So it is what it is.
When you say that about the Brighton game, you mean that possibly it could be your last game, you consider your future in January, perhaps?
Yeah, in football you never know, but I don't accept the situation, to be fair. Again, I've done so much for this club.
Is that what's so frustrating for you? Because
absolutely. Last season, I'm sorry, with all the respect, I love everyone. I love.
James, Ian Ladyman from the Mail on Sunday was at the game yesterday. Jonathan mentioned it there that they don't want Slot to be removed and it might have strengthened his position, what Salah said. But he said this, look, this is Slot's world right now. This is his team, and until they find a way to do the basic things better, Slot will continue to edge closer to that unthinkable position of a manager sacked just months after winning a Premier League title. It can happen, it shouldn't, certainly not yet, but it can. Is he in trouble?
Yeah, and one of his senior, most experienced players has made it worse for him. And that's why I think Liverpool fans will feel very conflicted about this, because obviously he has this iconic status, but at the same time he is exploiting their collective malaise to promote his own individual situation. And that is a dangerous thing for anyone to do at any club. And, I think if we all sat here and tried to work out what is Arne Slot's best 11 at the moment, we'd probably all come up with a different lineup. And it's pretty clear that he's trying to work out after, a summer of upheaval, a summer of tragedy. We shouldn't forget that at that club as well. He's trying to find his best 11. And in many ways, this is what we kind of expected would happen in his first season, right? This is when Jurgen Klopp left. I think everybody thought, well, he's going to need some time to work it out. Maybe they'll make signings. They'll need to, adapt to his style of play. That all didn't happen last year. He kept it ticking over brilliant. I mean, as better than anyone could have hoped for Liverpool. now he's in this situation where he's got to work out with all these new players, with the players that have left, with the dynamic, maybe the shift in the league being a bit more physical this year and the slightly different demands that it's placing on teams. He's trying to work things out, and every negative result is heightening the pressure on that. And Mo Salah has used another negative result to put further pressure on his own manager.
Dan, Jonathan says no, but is there a world where this power play ends with maybe Mohamed Salah winning and Slot going?
I mean, possibly, yeah. I think as James says, Slot is under a degree of pressure. He has to be, given the results they've had this season. I think most Liverpool fans, or it's hard to speak for a whole fan base, but a lot of Liverpool fans would have said before the West Ham game when Salah was on the bench, something's got to change, and this could be a change we make. So I don't think it was a huge surprise. I think it would be pretty dangerous, as the guys have said, for player power to lead to a manager being sacked. And then again, to compare it to Ronaldo, you kind of end up in this situation where you've got a guy, over in Saudi Arabia who's basically running the club. He's making the key decisions. That's where this kind of leads. So. I think there is a world where Slot goes, but I think it would be pretty dangerous if this was a big catalyst towards that.
Jonathan, let's look at Martin Samuel's piece in the Sunday Times, because he says Salah's position looks untenable after this brazen disloyalty, but keeping him wasn't a mistake. Is that fair, or do you think that the hierarchy have got a lot of questions to answer about what happened in the summer?
No, I totally, and I think I wrote this last season actually when all those three contracts were up for discussion. That it was actually it felt like those three players, Van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold and Salah, were almost they were pushing Liverpool to one last title. And they put in such an effort because it felt like the last season of the Klopp era, and there was a sense of climax to that, and it would have been, I think, the ideal moment for the long-term future of Liverpool for at least Salah, but probably Alexander-Arnold as well to go. Now, I understand Martin's point about the optics of it. It looks really, this time last year, Liverpool fans, pundits are saying, give him what he wants, give him, whatever he wants to stay at the club, but. I think Hughes and Edwards, and this is on them ultimately, they are very handsomely paid to take tough decisions for the long-term future of the club. And I think what they've chosen the easy way out. They've given him the contract, and then they've spent 400 million. Very crowd-pleasing. Liverpool won the transfer window, all of that, and totally kind of messed up what Slot was trying to build in that final third. They've landed it here. Here are 5 or 6 totally new forwards. Try and make it work. Now Slot, results. May well dictate that he ends up paying for it in the end. But I think the root causes of this go much deeper. And I think ultimately this is on the hierarchy.
Yeah, just picking up on that, James, because when we're looking at the recruitment, and as Jonathan mentioned there, yes, Liverpool have won the transfer window, close to £450 million spent. Was it a bit lopsided, the spend that they had, the players that they brought in? And you talked about, Salah was not required to track back before. Is he required to track back now, not only because of Liverpool's results, but because of the recruitment that happened in the summer? Well,
I mean, as well as they spent and as big as they spent, they missed the big deal that they needed, which was a centre-back. I don't think any of us are sitting here saying that in hindsight. I think we all thought if they get Mark Gay over the line, I think we all thought they'd had the perfect window. But as it is, and you only need to look at the game yesterday, Konate makes that challenge at 2-0, which lets Leeds back into the game, concedes the penalty. Does Mark Gay make that challenge? Probably not. Yes, the squad is imbalanced. I mean, the other thing about it is that, of course, they got Alexander Isak in really late in the window, right? Deadline day, wasn't it? Massive spend, hadn't had a pre-season. Florian Wirtz comes in. Those presumably are the two players who are going to be at the heart of the understanding going forward. They barely played together until the last few weeks, and again it comes back to that point that he's been trying to work out this best 11 while probably not having the squad to cope with the demands across 4 competitions. And they have left him. Clearly, they've left him short at the back. I think they're inevitably going to have to deal with that in January. I hope that they can rectify the situation. But I think Liverpool are not a sacking club. I don't think they're the kind of hierarchy that are going to look at this and listen to Mo Salah over what Arne Slot's telling them. You don't, you talk about the mistakes that they've maybe made running as a club. You don't spend 450 million quid backing a manager and then sack him because you've suffered a few bad results and one of the big players has come out and spoken against you. You just don't run a club that way.
Just on the game, Dan, I guess those 90 minutes effectively reflected and epitomised what Liverpool are all about at the moment this season, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean they're brittle. I mean, Liverpool last season do not give up a 2-0 lead against a newly promoted side. Obviously, I mean, Ellen Road's a tough place to go. I mean, if you show a bit of fight, you get stuck into the opposition, the crowd really get behind you, and it's almost unique in atmosphere in that sense. And I think Liverpool struggled to deal with that. Once Leeds got a sniff and got back in the game, their tails are up, and Liverpool started making silly mistakes. As James said, the Konate tackle was a huge turning point. So, yeah, I think that they've got problems throughout the team. As we've said, Arne Slot's trying to work out what his best side is. I think that's really unclear. A lot of the new signings, not just in attack, are struggling to settle. I don't think Kirkez has, looked particularly great at left back. He's struggling to link up with Gakpo. I think they're missing Luis Diaz. They look like an imbalanced side, an imbalanced squad, and they're struggling. They're really struggling for rhythm. That said, since dropping Salah, they are actually unbeaten in 3 games. That's the strange thing about this. You can make a pretty compelling case, even though the last 2 results against Sunderland and Leeds have been really disappointing. But actually, they've stabilised. They've kind of solidified since he went out of the team, because they were on a pretty horrendous losing streak before that. But I think, yeah, they've clearly got kind of problems from back to front. And when you're playing in Europe, when you're playing every 3 days in the Premier League, it is really hard for managers to kind of address that.
There's also been a big drop-off from their key players, right? I mean, let's be honest, Mo Salah wasn't playing very well before he got dropped. That's why he got dropped. Virgil van Dijk, who's been arguably one of the best Premier League centre-halves for years, is nowhere near the level that he's been at this season.
And Konate was being linked with Real Madrid in the summer, wasn't he? I mean, he was being talked about as one of the best centre-halves in the world, and then you look at what he's done this season. It's been really poor.
So we're talking about Slot and the collective issues, but also their big players fundamentally have just not performed at the same level. So when you throw that into the mix, it's a worrying cocktail for any manager.
Jonathan, very, very quickly, we can't leave this game without speaking very quickly about Leeds United, and what a week for Daniel Farke, who was under huge pressure. And a lot of people were saying before the City game, they knew that Leeds had City, then Chelsea, then Liverpool, and perhaps at the end of that, it would be curtains for Daniel Farke. Quite the opposite now.
Yeah, dead man walking, wasn't he? And the fight they showed against City, and then that incredible performance in midweek against Chelsea. He switched to a 3 at the back. I think based on what he saw, the way Leverkusen played against Manchester City in the Champions League with a 3 at the back, and that kind of inspired him into that system, and it seems to be working out for him. I think there's a big part of the Leeds fan base that's still not having him. I think they want a bigger name manager in. I think they want someone, I guess, with a little bit more pedigree. But I think what he's shown so far is a lot of fight and a lot of character. And I think his players are still responding.
Pues es una ausencia importante, porque no ya es uno de los jugadores que siempre suele comenzar los partidos en esa escalera. Y vamos a ver hasta qué punto lo siente y lo nota el Barrio, que ha sido un equipo un poco de extremos durante los propios partidos, ¿no? Muchas veces ha empezado mal, luego ha mejorado en el segundo tiempo. Hoy el Barrio tiene que salir con mucha más concentración desde el primer instante, porque esto es un partido de playoff y delante tienen un equipo con mucha calidad como es los Troncos.
Atento está para el cierre, Gil Vidal, segundo palo, Carlas al palo. Adri, ¡gol! ¡Gol del Barrio de Adri de Contreras! El penalti Presi. Mira, y Adri Contreras haciendo de la suya. Se queda en el campo y dice... Ian disparó. ¡Oh! ¡Sácala a llenar! ¡Gol! Verdú, también Edgar Álvaro. Verdú la deja para Edgar. Rompe la barrera. ¡Oh! ¡Gol, gol, gol! ¡Gol! ¡Tenemos suerte! ¡Vamos! Todo tuyo. Ahí está Marmartra, que lanza un bueno. Jugador estrella.
¿A quién ponemos?
¿Será doble jugador estrella?
Sí. ¿Qué quieres? ¿Penalti?
Pues
Vale,
quiere
como
penalti, no quiere
como
quitarle el
penalti.
jugador. ¡Gol de los troncos! ¡No falla Verdú! ¡Viene el Che! ¡Manu Martín! Al lado de la pelota. A ver, aquí va. Va directo a la pelota. ¡Gol! ¡Perchita! ¡Gol! Para los troncos. Se fue por la clásica, por la segura. Chita, Sorroche con el centro. La bajó muy bien Litus, pase atrás. Edgar. Buen pro en el área. Paufer con el cuero al segundo palo. La tapó. Pérdida la tiene Che. Se va a recontrol Carraflana. Rebote para allí. ¡Gol! ¡Gol! ¡Del barrio!
Ian González, habéis repetido la suerte de las chicas y estáis en semi. Enhorabuena.
Pues nada, muy contentos. Parece que ya empezamos a salir del pozo en el que nos metimos en Liga después de esas 4 derrotas seguidas. Y nada, a Madrid seguro.
Os enfrentáis, al igual que las chicas, a Ultimate Móstoles, guerra de clubes, parece.
Sí, esperamos a ver si podemos ganarles ya, que desde que salí de allí de Móstoles no le ganó ningún partido. Así que nada, DJ, voy a por ti.
O sea que celebración de gol si marcas, a lo loco, todo, ¿no?
Tanto no, pero ojalá le meta uno.
Bueno, enhorabuena, a disfrutarlo.
Muchas gracias.